As we have learned in the past 4 years, high school is filled with stereotypes. Some may be justified, others may not be so much.
The closer we get to leaving the comfort of high school, the more we realize how these stereotypes and judgments don't necessarily get left behind in high school.
You would think that as high school seniors, we would have very extensive social lives, but that isn't always the case.
If you were to ask my brothers, they would probably tell you that I'm basically just their personal chauffeur. I spend most of my Friday nights just driving them around.
My computer sends me this weekly activity report, and it causes me to realize just how much time I spend doing homework and watching Netflix.
And don't forget about student council. That consumes a lot of our time as well.
A typical school day for us starts with a meeting before school, approximately 6 of the 5 school days in a week.
We spend the next 6.5 hours sitting in class learning about a wide variety of things that they say will be beneficial to us in the future.
After school, we begin the chaos of extracurricular activities and work. Depending on the day, it could be a combination.
On the rare occasion that I actually have free time, you can probably find me at a coffee shop or casually strolling through the aisles of Target.
In fact, it's not that uncommon for the two of us to bump into each other here, whether we're in search of that perfect study snack to study for our test tomorrow, or the really cute skirt that we saw on clearance last week.
We frequently find ourselves there at least once a week.
So picture yourself, like us, at Target. You're walking up and down the aisles in search of the one last thing on your shopping list that you almost forgot about. You locate the item and head to the checkout line.
As you make your way to the register, you pass a mother caring for a screaming child, a man searching diligently for just the right shampoo, and a teenager wandering aimlessly through the aisles. After making your purchase, you began making your way to the car.
Hold on. Back up. What did we miss here? What did you really observe as you walked through the aisles? What was going through your mind? Were you bothered by that rowdy child? Were you confused by the man searching so hard just to find the right shampoo? Were you suspicious of that teenager lurking through the aisles?
Were you observing the world the way that God sees it?
Each person that you pass on the street or run into on the bike trail was created on purpose, for a purpose, by a loving God. We are His beautiful creation, each and every one of us. He wants us to remember that this is true of ourselves, but also to see others in that way.
So let's go back. You're walking into Target with a long list of things to buy, but a desire in your heart to really see people the way that God created them. Let's take another look at the mother comforting her screaming child. It is January, and the child is wearing one of the least practical winter outfits you have ever seen. It looks like it might even be his Stormtrooper Halloween costume. You could observe this and think, wow, what an irresponsible mother. But keeping your goal of seeing the world the way God sees it in mind, you begin to notice just how patient the mother is with her screaming child. You see the love. You notice her give the little boy her jacket. From the outside, you can see the love shared between a mother and her child. But unless you're a mother, you probably don't quite understand it. You are completely unaware that prior to having children, this woman was told it would be nearly impossible for her to conceive a child. Without ever finding this out, you are stuck with observation. But if you look close enough, while withholding judgment, the love that the mother has for her miracle child will speak for itself.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Far too often, we aim to simply tolerate people, but we are aiming far too low. We should be tolerating mosquitoes or long lines. We should be celebrating people. When God created the night and day, the earth, seas, and sky, He said that it was good. But when He created mankind in His own image, He said that it was very good. The same God that invented sunsets and puppies said that humans were very good. And if that isn't something to be celebrated, I don't know what is. So whether you're walking through Target or walking through life, look to celebrate people.
Now, back to Target. Remember that man you saw in the shampoo aisle, frantically searching for just the right product? At first glance, the situation seemed quite odd. You found yourself labeling the man as foolish. How important is shampoo in the grand scheme of things? The longer you watched the man, you noticed the other things in his shopping cart: hand sanitizer, tea, and a few magazines, along with a couple of other items. With the addition of shampoo, you notice that this man is probably buying supplies for some sort of care package. Although you would never be able to tell from this short encounter at Target, his wife begins chemotherapy next week. In just a few short weeks, her hair will begin to fall out as the chemo attacks the cancer. Her favorite shampoo smells like coconut and is more expensive than the kind that she would normally buy. He just wants her to feel confident as she still has hair left on her head. As this man stands in the aisle looking defeated after not finding what he was looking for, you find yourself thinking, what would Jesus do? With a weary step, you approach the man and ask if he could use any help. He responds with, "No, thank you," and you give him a kind smile. Although he may have turned down your help, your small act of kindness gave him the encouragement that he needed in that moment. Before, you may have questioned why this was such a difficult decision for the man to make. But as you are looking at him in the way that God looks at all of his children without judgment, you realize that you should celebrate this man's caring and compassionate heart.
Each and every one of God's children has walked a different path and run a different race. By simply passing them by, we have no way of knowing the story that they have to tell. It doesn't mean that you have to ask each person you encounter about their life story, but rather a kind smile and a welcoming demeanor may just do the trick. Much of Jesus' ministry was not spent preaching on the Mount like he did with the Beatitudes in the Gospel today, but rather simply being present with the people and offering his loving heart. Often, as human beings, we think that we need to offer life-saving advice or do some heroic deed. But in reality, the best thing that you may have to offer at that time is a kind smile and a shoulder to cry on. A reminder that you are a part of God's glorious creation can go a long way. So tell people that you celebrate them. Tell them that their life and the work of God is something to be celebrated. Use your voice and love others.
As you think about our experience thus far at Target, you begin to look at the teenager walking slowly up and down the aisles in a different light. You begin to notice his worn clothing and greasy hair. The longer you look at him, the more and more familiar he becomes. After some thought, you realize where you last saw him. He was one of the kids that you helped at the clothesline while volunteering. You begin to wonder what his life is like at home. Does he have a home? I mean, a real steady home, one that he goes to every night and can call his own? As you stand there, you notice how carefully he is examining the prices. You begin to think of ways that you could possibly help him. You decide that you will pick up a few of the things you noticed him show interest in, but ultimately passed by. You head to the register to make your purchase. In the end, it didn't cost all that much, but after seeing his face when you handed him the bag, you have hope that you made a difference to this young boy. This seemingly small act of kindness showed him the love of Christ and hopefully made it apparent that he is worth celebrating.
How often do we walk right past a need and try not to notice it? It's easy to put on our blinders and look at only the perfect things. But we need to see people without judgment, the way that Jesus looks at each of his children. It's important that every action celebrates others and shows them that they are made very good in the eyes of their Creator. Whether it's something small, like giving your seat up for someone, or something a little bigger, like donating some food to the food shelf. All acts of kindness have the power to show someone their worth. The day before school was out for winter break, a group of high school kids handed out candy canes in the hallway at school. There was a note attached, and it read, "Please remember that you are loved, valued, and purposeful. Pass a candy cane and a smile on to someone that may need it today." Something as small as these candy canes started a chain reaction of kindness and brought smiles to so many students that day. The cost of each candy cane couldn't have been more than 5 cents, but it made a world of difference. There was no need for recognition or receiving anything in return, but a pure and simple act of kindness showed others that they have a life that is worth celebrating.
When Jesus first preached the Beatitudes from the Mount, there were huge crowds of people that wanted to hear him. Jesus tells us to love others, but it's time for us to really start loving others. It is important for us to withhold our judgment, tell others that they are worth celebrating, and show others through service that they are a celebrated child of God.
So let's stop simply tolerating people and start celebrating people. Amen.